what is hemp?
Hemp, it's a very ubiquitous crop which has been around for several hundred years and was actually used for several hundred years. It's probably one of the most ubiquitous crops we can use because it has functions in so many different things. Besides just medicinal aspects, it has a cloth and food, and it just goes on and on. It's one of the most incredible cash crops which ever was derived in America, and it's a shame it isn't today, and it could be. Well, in terms of agricultural needs for many things, like I say, we use cotton. Hemp is a much better fibre breaker. We use paper. Hemp is much better than trees. The larger fibres are stronger. They last longer. Can be reused, recycled, recomposted much more completely. The uses are actually, like I say, ubiquitous. It goes in for so many different areas. It doesn't destroy the soil. It actually enhances the soil. There's more biomass per acre of hemp than most any other crop you can actually mention. So it has a lot of uses. The different strains of the same kind of plant. If you were to walk through a field of hemp or marijuana, you would not notice much of a difference unless you looked at the boluses in the actual flower. That's about the only difference. Very much the same plant, and we do have plants which actually are relatively TH3 minimal or even free, as some of the new hybrid strains are coming out. Oh, you could smoke it. You probably have a headache without actually getting any high. But so no, industrial hemp is. There is no marijuana worth talking about. You would smoke it, you just feel as though you were sitting over a campfire. So it's totally negligible in terms of any marijuana effect. If you use the word hemp and just keep it at that, then no problem. But the trouble is it keeps getting misconstrued with marijuana, and that is a sad state of affairs, to put it mildly. Yes, there is marijuana and there is hemp, and the two can be kept separate. And the actual marijuana bolus itself is so beneficial in terms of the medicinal benefits overall and what can be manufactured out of it. So to actually use marijuana, collect the plant for the hemp and the marijuana bolus for actual, you can even regulate it, you can tax it, you can do lots of things. Marijuana is probably no worse than alcohol, probably actually less harmful than alcohol overall. I think eventually it could do. We have to get through some of the hysteria, misinformation, and so much misinformation since the 1930s. I think the reality is that it was a cash crop in America for hundreds of years. It was accepted widely. We didn't have potheads in the 1700s or even earlier than that. So It's not as though it was a problem beforehand. It only became a problem when it became a competition crop for cotton. Oh, well, we use hemp products. I've actually got a hemp t-shirt. It's a stronger t-shirt than a cotton t-shirt. It lasts longer. There is no reason it can't be bright white. I mean, we usually tend to make them off-white just to make sure it looks that way, but that's a marketing gimmick. I would actually advocate hemp. I have advocated hemp for years because it is one of the most, like I said before, ubiquitous crop, which has so many different uses. It's just silly not to use it because it's a much more beneficial crop than many of the others, and it has much more, if you want to actually come from an innovative cash outlay, it's a much better crop to grow. Well, if we did the correct education, hemp is the way to go. I think we just need to educate properly what hemp is, what hemp isn't, what marijuana is, and what marijuana isn't. I think once we get that kind of clarity distinctively sent out, the university should support it. From an educational perspective, it makes much more sense to be in support of hemp, especially industrial hemp. It's just a better option altogether. And this is the problem. I think it's just the hysteria, the public policy since the 30s. And I think it's created such a distrust of I'm sorry, I'm going to get really upset here. No, I think it's just the crop itself is just so valuable. It's such a much more valuable and it's such a better crop for the farmers. I mean, you think of the Second World War, where we actually grew around the outside of every field. I mean, it was almost mandated for the war effort for the ship's rope.
Right.
Hemp rope. I actually started climbing on the hemp rope. Much stronger.
Yeah.
Much more stronger than anything else. Not as quite as strong as a modern pearl or whatever, but it's just an amazing fibre. I mean, It's so much more longer, so much stronger, and you can do so much more with it.
Well, you can.
And I mean, what do you do when you pulp a tree? You cut a tree down, you pulp it. Okay, there's specialised trees and specialised forests for actual pulping. You can do that with hemp, and you can use it for so many other things. It's not just one plant, one purpose. It's one plant, multiple purposes.
Right.
Oh, if only it's just hemp, it's actually everything else. It's like all companies, for instance, are not one, all companies are energy companies. So if you look at the innovations over the last 40 years, you'll find every single innovation that's ever been out there suddenly has disappeared. The patents have been bought up, or they've just literally been submerged. Hemp has the same problem. I think it's valuable and it's seen as a threat to a bad use technology, which is what we find through many of the energy companies and the big corporations. I think we need to get to more of a market which is actually freer.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about a free market, but that's actually a big misnomer, the way giants are actually controlling the market. Free market is a misnomer anyway. The only thing that exists is a market with rules, and if it agrees to their rules, then they like it. But they don't want it to actually be a fair market. And I think hemp would actually create a fair market and should be allowed to be out there. I think if we could educate the public in more of what hemp can do, I think we might actually get the pushback we need.
I think so too.
I think what we need a rational, unbiased education out there, not the rhetorical screaming and crying that we actually hear. Oh, you know about marijuana. It's like, well, yeah, they don't complain. The same people who complain about marijuana are probably drinking alcohol as if it's going out of business as well. So I think it could push back. I think we need to educate. We have the same problem with GMOs at the moment. It's not as though GMOs are bad, but we just need to have transparency.
Right.
Transparency of information, let people make the decisions for themselves based on good information.
Right, exactly.
It's the misinformation and the one-sidedness and the attack of people who are actually trying to get broad, transparent information, I think, is a problem.
Right.
Well, people seem to think as if it's a miracle plant. It's a great plant. It can't do everything. Most of the myths I've heard actually tend to be more from the medicinal side. And yes, we're only just discovering. We haven't researched it completely. So I think we need to do more research. We need to do more testing. We need to do more manufacture testing and some basic research in general. I don't want to go into all the details of one side or the other, but it just tends to be the polarization, which is our problem. We have the extreme enthusiasts versus extreme deniers and anti-marijuana people. Most of the people are in the middle. Most people in the middle are completely confused, and if they actually had the right information, they would actually start making some rational decisions based on real information.
Right.
We have a lot of non-science, pseudoscience, and it gets completely mixed up and confused with the real science. And I think that's where we do a disservice to the general people who maybe hear the rhetoric from each extreme without knowing what the actual truth is.